Good evening and welcome to the Year 9 Choices Options evening presentation on child development. My name is Mrs. Rickman. I'm the lead subject teacher for child development here at St Peter's, and I'm going to take you through a little taster of what it is that child development can offer your son, daughter, and some of the topics that we cover, how the exam and the assessment works, and to answer any questions that you may have. I'm not going to spend too long on each slide, purely because I know you've got lots of things to look at this evening. So a couple of key words from our subject vision there. We aim to develop successful learners with lots and lots of attributes that will help them to grow and thrive as individuals, to become family members and members of society. Child development introduces young people to the world of health and social care, and the wealth of vocational and academic professional roles that lie within that topic. We build confident learners, we build responsible learners, and we aim to support and nurture students to want to do the absolute best they can in a subject that they really enjoy. The option subjects run on 3 periods a week with home learning set weekly. The child development course is slightly different to some of the other GCSEs in that we have a 50-50 ratio of evidence-based. So 50% of it is exam and 50% is a coursework portfolio. All of that coursework portfolio is produced using IT. So our child development classroom up at Southbourne has a full suite of computers and laptops which are available every lesson. And students will be able to use their Office 365 and their Teams platforms to submit and open work, sometimes during lessons for home learning, etc. So we do offer a real balance between written and digital work. It's a relatively new subject here at St Peter's. 6 years ago, I started it, and it's been incredibly popular, and it grows year on year. Our first year cohort was, I think, 17 learners, and we're now up to 49, split into 2 GCSE classes. Our results speak for themselves, and on the screen there you can see how we performed in 2019 and 2020. The good thing about 2020, or the thing I'd like to point out, is that there we had no COVID reductions. So that score of 97% GCSE 9 to 5 is an authentic grade where all students had already done the exam, the coursework was not reduced in any way, they were not incapacitated or disadvantaged, and that would continue to be the trend thereafter. 77% of those students, and there was 47 last year, achieved higher. In fact, I think it was 47% achieved 2 GCSE grades higher than their target. And target grades are important, but they are not the be-all and end-all. We prefer to use aspirational grades, so we get the students to aspire to which grade boundary they'd like to achieve. So we really try to encourage them to move forwards. Child development pathways. We offer a fantastic health and social care AS level here at St Peter's, and this subject was brought in to bridge a gap that we felt was there for learners to be able to step into the AS level with a lot more confidence and a great foundation of skills. This subject will lead and link into so many different career pathways you wouldn't believe. Medicine and healthcare being the big one, and then you've got education as well. But anything in between those two, so anything to do with human beings, development, the mind, psychology, health, an absolute wealth of subject areas and topics. And the vocational support that we use in terms of talks and documentaries and looking at the various job roles really is embedded within what we do. Life skills, however, is probably the biggest thing. So we aim in child development to really give the students a broad picture as to what life would be like with children, working with children, but also working with human beings. We talk about the psychological impact, developmental impact. We talk about first aid, resuscitation, emergency care. It goes right the way through a whole wealth of topic bases, but they're life skills which are really fundamental to all of our students, and you'll see some of the comments later from students, but you'll see that they actually really do genuinely agree that the topics we cover and the things that we discuss and the work that we achieve is really great for life skills further on in their entire lives for moving forward. How is the qualification assessed? So as I said at the beginning, it's 50% exam, 50% coursework. This bodes really well for students that are maybe not strong in one or the other, because it gives them an opportunity to really balance out their grades. So we tend to sit the exam in year 10, we do it in the June, the summer. So when the year 11s are doing their GCSE, the year 10s actually sit their paper. There is an opportunity to resit it in year 11, and if we needed to, we could all sit it in year 11. And then the coursework is bolted onto the exam, and for each of these sections, the students achieve points. And those points then go to this qualification banding at the bottom. They can move up. So students can really have control over where they pitch themselves in terms of a grade. They can see quite clearly that they need to get another 4 marks to jump a whole grade boundary. They can see that if they resat the exam, they might be able to get a higher mark overall. But the language also is really interesting. It is equivalent, exactly the same as a GCSE. And again, I'll cover that in the frequently asked questions. But the grading and the terminology used for Cambridge National is slightly different. So it's level 2 distinction star, distinction, merit, pass, and so forth. And it does go down to a level 1, but we always pitch at a level 2 pass and above. And that's where those 77% of students were. They were there on a pass, and then they achieved 2 grades higher into a distinction. So because of that balance of coursework and exam, it gives the students real flexibility. It makes them very accountable, and it gives them the responsibility to see where they could go further and how they could progress. So the exam topics are all listed on here. I shan't read through them all individually because I shall allow you to do so. But you basically have one exam paper, hour and 30 minutes, and it's sat as a full GCSE in the exam conditions in this portal. As I said, we do that in summer of year 10. That relieves a little bit of pressure from year 11 for your other subjects. It also allows you a resit opportunity, and it means that we know what that first chunk of marks is going to be. So we can really work harder in some of the areas, or we can afford to allow students to see that they're doing brilliantly, they're already on a distinction or a pass or a merit, and where do they need to go next. The topics we cover then go right the way through from conception all the way through to birth, postnatally, looking at emergency medical care, basic first aid, CPR, and all the way through until the age of 5. So our complete course goes from the ages of birth to 5. But we do also then link into the impacts of parenthood, mental health, psychological impacts, development of the child, parental responsibility, and carers. So we focus on midwifery, teaching, medicine, emergency services, all of those topics that are within the vocational sector. Some examples there of some exam questions. So you can see some are really low, sort of 1 mark questions where they'd need to know an actual statement answer. Others will require them to have a little bit more use of extended writing. So we'll be using what we call PEE, point, example, explain. And we work on these exam questions throughout year 10, and we do many, many practice tests. So the students have a great opportunity to practice their skills and hone their revision skills. Some of the work we've done recently, so I said about digital, we do lots of digital work. So this is a student in year 10 who was doing some job role cards, looking at various parts of the healthcare sectors, the roles, responsibilities, and duties, finding out about pathways, qualifications, etc. Note taking is really important in child development. So being able to condense notes. This is an example of something called the Cornell method, where we try to encapsulate an entire topic on one piece of paper. And the students learn how to simplify text, create revision resources, and to make effective revision tooling for them to be able to take forward for the exam. Again, mind maps work really, really well with some students. We try to bring in as much the fun element, so showcasing students' artistic skills. So that was a really beautiful piece, not long done. And then we also try to do fun activities that, again, get the students to bring that foundation learning into life. So we have been recently doing, and year 10 are currently doing, a little task with an egg baby. So a bit of fun, a light-spirited task, but the work that they do to go with it, they do a diary, they do a parenting plan, they look at baby groups, they look at the psychological impacts of a child being left on their own, the physical impacts where they need to be sleeping, etc., etc. So we try to bring a variety of tasks into our learning. The coursework then starts in year 10, and there are 2 big units that get bolted together to make a big portfolio. And some of the examples of things we do. So nursery equipment, the students have to look at safety, design and ergonomics, choosing equipment for a scenario and making choices from that, so which ones they're selecting based on those factors. We then have to do nutrition. So within the nursery scenario, again, the students will look at good nutrition, bad nutrition, what nutrition does for us, the different types of food groups, and they'll put together presentations. These are single sheets out of possibly 20 to 30 page documents, looking at menus, planning, and then they actually get to do a practical task with this one where they get to design and put together a menu plan, actually cook it using effective hygiene, present it, and consider then how they're going to address the nursery scenario where they've got to feed multiple children, and they compare it then to things like shop bought products. With all of this, the analysis of the nutrition is at the forefront of the task. So then they're looking at things like the Eat Well guide, the traffic light system, working out fats and saturates and sugars and salts, and applying all of that into their work. RO20 then is the year 11 coursework, which the year 10s will be starting now when we get back. Yes, we'll be starting when we get back. We start at the end of year 10, middle way through. We try to change the tasks up so that they're not always working on the same topics. And this one is putting on a health visitor hat, really. They'll be looking at the developmental milestones of a child. So they'll be working through what are milestones, how do children develop. Then they'll be putting on teacher hat, and they'll be looking to see how children learn through play. So they will be identifying the physical, intellectual, social, emotional benefits of an activity, planning that activity, and then actually carrying it out. And this is the one note that's probably most important, is that all students who take child development will need to know a child outside of school between the ages of 1 and 5. They won't need this until year 11, the very end of year 10, beginning of year 11. But they need to be a sibling, a family member, or somebody nearby that they can build a good relationship with and actually use them as part of their study. Because for their final section, their child study, which is the biggest section of marks for this unit, they will be producing a study plan where they have looked at that child's milestones, identified an area of potentially weakness, then looked into activities, planned and carried out those activities, researched, observed, and then, there we go, carried them out with the child, taken notes, done some snapshot observation, and then again, they'll be evaluating that child's performance to see how well they did, what they could do better, how well the child may have progressed through their activity. So all of those things will be formatted into their child development portfolios. Right, common misconceptions and frequently asked questions. So on the evenings when I do this at school, these are some of the questions that always come up. It's all about babies. No, it's absolutely not. And I'm sure from what you've read so far and from that little short paragraph there, you can see that we are way more than just about babies. Boys don't do child development. Yes, they absolutely do. Granted, we do have much more of a female base, but we have had many students go on to do great things. So Great Ormond Street paediatric consultant, a successful primary teacher, pharmacist, another as a paramedic. They've all done extremely well in child development. So as long as they're prepared to work hard, focus on what they're doing, then we will 100% enjoy having boys in the classroom for sure. We have to take a baby home. No, you don't, but you can if you want to. COVID restrictions at the moment make it very difficult, but we have 2 Real Care babies at school that we fundraised really hard for. They are very expensive bits of kit, but they are fantastic fun. And the simulations, whether it be a night or a weekend, are a brilliant eye-opening opportunity for the students. We've got 2 babies, as I said, they are about £1,000 per baby. So we'd love to be able to fundraise for more, but we'll see how we get on with that one. But yes, they are an optional, they are not a requirement. And the last one, child development isn't a GCSE. It most certainly is, and actually it's a really challenging one. There is a huge range of learning styles. The expectation to work independently is really high. We produce large portfolios of evidence which the students work along and chip away at, and they are responsible and have to be accountable at all times for their own work. We keep everything digital, so they need to be really sort of organised, logical, keep things safe. They will use the Harvard referencing system. We will do appendices. We look at how to research effectively, how to copy and paste links, web links to include and incorporate videos into our work. There's a whole wealth of skills, just academic skills, that will help them to then go on to AS levels, vocational apprenticeships, all of the college courses. And we are very well thought of and very well regarded within that. You'll find that child development students have a much better way of working independently as a result of this subject. So, in a nutshell, lots of words there, but as you can see, the word baby does not feature once. Babies are absolutely a part of it, but there's so much more. There is so much to learn, and the sorts of students that we look for particularly are the sorts of students that want to go into a world where they have to be responsible, accountable, a team player, independent, problem solving, really enthusiastic, really passionate about what we do. And so, yeah, some of those qualities there we look for in our students, but we develop them over time as well. So a couple of quotes there from my current 10s and 11s, which I'll leave you to read. But I hope that gave you a real taster of what we offer. It would be great to see or speak to some of you. If you have any queries or you'd like to know any more, then please do drop me an email. It's on the screen there. And we can organise a meeting on the options evening if you wish, or we can just talk via email. And I look forward to hopefully seeing and speaking to some of you very soon back in school, all being well. Until then, stay safe, look after yourselves. I hope you found this interesting, and God bless.